Welcome to Gaming on a Budget. Today we'll be taking a look at Sentinels of the Multiverse from Greater Than Games. This is for 2 to 5 players and according to the box plays in 30 to 60 minutes, though in my experience it usually goes a little bit longer than that. Somewhere in the vicinity of an hour for 2 people, hour and a half for 4, 5-ish. But, you know, we could just be slow. Now, Sentinels of the Multiverse is a fully cooperative card game wherein you will be playing heroes battling a nefarious villain bent on doing something. It's never entirely clear what they're doing. I think you get to kind of make up the story yourself there. As I understand it, there is quite a bit of background information and story and all that available, but I've only read what's in the rule book, which isn't a bad little blurb of information, but it doesn't exactly give you the whole picture. See, there's some nice little character and villain bios there, and you know, some definite information out there for those who want it. Now, what initially attracted me to Sentinels of the Multiverse was, I'll be honest, seeing it on Amazon for $28. $28 is a pretty hard price tag to beat. So, I figured, why not? Let's give it a shot and see how we like it. Now, one of the first things I noticed is that while the box is a very high quality, nice finish, nice and thick and sturdy material, the cards left quite a bit to be desired. Taking the shrink wrap off one of the packs, I put a little white mark on one of my cards, which, while not the end of the world in a game like this, was kind of irritating to see them so easily damaged. This is definitely a game you're going to want to either sleeve or pile shuffle or something. You know, take care of it because it's a bit on the delicate side. Now, it has a great deal of expansions available for it already. I have managed to fill the box exclusively with cards to the point that I can't even fit the tokens in the box anymore. But the base game itself comes with, I want to say, 3 what, sweetie?
Villains.
3 villains? I thought it was 4 villains.
3.
Okay, 3 villains.
No, you're right, it is 4.
Okay, it is 4, yes. Alright, we've come to a consensus, ladies and gentlemen. It's something like 8 to 10 heroes and 3 or 4 environments. So it's not a bad variety, certainly, but it's not enough that you're going to want to stop there if you enjoy the game. Now, on the notion of enjoying the game and how it plays, why don't we take a look at, I'll run through a sample turn, maybe 2, depending on how long that takes. So let's get right to it. Alright, when we last left our heroes, they were having a bit of a time with it. Baron Blade, the foul supervillain they're facing this go-around, has out a mobile defense platform which is making him currently immune to damage. That's something of a problem for the heroes as they would really like to do damage to him. Now, the villain will be represented by 2 cards. A card indicating his current status and hit points, and a card that dictates his behavior. Now, Baron Blade, like many villains, has 2 sides to his character card that will change his behavior in some fairly meaningful ways. Now, at the moment, he has out his Terralunar Impulsion Beam, which means that as he discards cards, if his discard pile ever reaches 15 cards, the heroes immediately lose the game. So, if they were to, say, destroy this mobile defense platform so that they could, again, inflict damage on him, that would essentially put the Baron 1 card closer to victory. Now, in his current incarnation, he himself doesn't do a whole lot on his turn unless you're playing with the advanced rules, which, you know, would be for people looking for a greater challenge. But what he will do is at the start of each of his turns, he's going to play a villain card. Oh my goodness. In this case, a second mobile defense platform. So he's doubly immune to damage. And then you'll resolve each one of the cards he currently has out. Now, if his card had been... Let's see if we can find one here. If his card had been a one-shot card, it would have instead taken immediate effect and then gone into his discard pile. So, in order to resolve his cards, we look and see that the mobile defense platform is just an always-on effect. They don't do anything outside of making him immune to damage. But his powered remote turret here states that at the end of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 2 projectile damage. Increase damage dealt by this card by 1 for each mobile defense platform in play. Ooh boy. So, 2 plus 1 plus 1, he's currently doing 4 damage to each hero target. That's a pretty sizable chunk of health. I think the highest health count a hero has is 36, I want to say, for Haka, but I could be wrong on that. So, he would inflict his damage, represented by these cool little damage tokens here, onto the heroes, but Legacy, if we can pan over to Legacy over here, has an interesting little card of his own out in play. Lead from the front. This lets him redirect damage that would be dealt to another hero to himself. So he would have the option of taking the damage that would be inflicted to the other hero currently in play. This fits nicely with his character, but we'll get back to that in a second. So, the villain resolves his end of turn effect on his device, and then the turn passes to the first hero in clockwise order. In this case, the first hero is Tempest, who is, he's kind of, I would almost call him a spellcaster of sorts if you were thinking in RPG terms, but he's a weather control specialist.
An elemental.
Oh, an elemental specialist. Okay. Thank goodness for camera wives. So, he currently has 2 ongoing effects. One with a power effect, which the basic mechanics of this game are that on your turn you have the ability to play 1 card if you choose, and the ability to use 1 power if you choose. Now everyone has a built-in default power on their character card, this here at the bottom, and they'll usually gain some more options through ongoing or equipment cards that they play. His new power from the card is that he can heal himself and all other heroes for 2 damage. That is huge. Not a lot of people have healing abilities, and that is a good one. And his other states that at the start of your turn, Tempest deals each non-hero target 1 lightning damage. So, he would in fact take a damage point for every target, villain and environment, we'll cover the environment in a second, and inflict 1 damage to each of them. That's a really big deal. The Baron himself wouldn't take any damage because he's currently immune, but all 3 of his devices and the environment target would. So that's pretty big. He's also got his hand of cards over here. So, he resolves his at the start of turn effect, doing some damage. You know, I could throw down some little 1 damage tokens here. And then he has his power and his play. Now, he's got some pretty cool little one-shot cards, but he's looking to get geared up a little better at the moment. So he's going to play his Gene-Bound Shackles. Now, this is an equipment, and it's limited. Limited means he can only have 1 copy of it in play at a time. Equipment only matters for when other cards reference equipment. Some, you know, may destroy equipment or let you go digging through your deck or discard for it or what have you. So he could put that down into play, and then he would still have a power available. after that 4 points of damage the Baron's powered remote turret inflicted, he might consider using his healing power to remove some of that damage, which I neglected to represent with tokens, but, you know, use your imagination, folks. Come on, I can't do it all for you. So, he could then end his turn. He would draw one card, unless he hadn't really done anything, in which case he could draw two, and the turn would pass to the next hero in line. In this case, Legacy. He is one of the best tanks or damage absorbers in the game, and not only that, but he has a slew of ongoing and equipment cards that boost the other heroes in addition to himself. So he's a fantastic person to have on your team because he's going to enhance everyone around him.
He's a real team player.
My camera wife has quipped that he's a real team player, which he certainly is. So, he's got a couple of ongoings himself. You've already seen Lead from the Front. He's also got Surge of Strength, which increases the damage he deals by 1. Now, somewhere in the deck, he's got a card that increases the damage everyone deals by 1, which is ridiculously powerful. Tempest's Electrical Storm would have done 2 damage to every target if that was in play. So, he's got some nice one-shots. You know, this one will let him absorb damage for people, and he's got an equipment card, and see, this is another copy of the ongoing limited he currently has in play that's enhancing his own damage. Because it's limited, he could not play this card. So let's say he put the Legacy Ring into play. And that states you may use an additional power during your power phase. Oh man, that is a nice, nice card. Unfortunately, he's only got his built-in power, and as I understand it, I could be wrong on this, but you can never use one power more than once in a turn. So he couldn't use his built-in ability more than once. His built-in ability being to enhance the damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So another way to enhance the people around him. So he would certainly consider using that, but the problem is, being the last character in line, that's... well, actually, wait, no, that would carry over to his next turn. So, when Tempest got a turn again, he would be boosted. Now, over here, or once his turn concluded, you know, he draws his card and all that, then you get to the environment phase. This is the location your titanic battle is taking place, and the effects it has on said battle. The environment cards are interesting because while most of them are bad, some of them can actually end up being quite good for you. My lovely camera wife and I have actually had, like, say, dinosaurs in the prehistoric world start chowing down on the villain and the villain's, you know, helpers and such instead of us. Because they'll have criteria like the non-environment target with the second lowest hit points or something like that. Now, the one currently in play states, at the start of the environment turn, which this is, this card deals each hero target H-1 fire damage. Now, the H is going to be the number of hero players in the game. So this would be 2 minus 1 fire damage. So that would inflict a point of damage to Tempest and Legacy, because it specifies hero target. Then look through the environment trash for impending casualty and put it into play. But as you can see, the environment discard is empty, so can't do that part. Then, once the at the start of environment turn card effect is resolved, we'll flip over a new one for this turn. Cramped Quarters Combat. This is one of those ones that it's debatable if it's good or bad. It really depends on the circumstance. It changes the type of all damage to melee damage. Now, this can be good if you have effects that, say, amplify your melee damage, or effects that make you immune to melee damage or resistant. It can also be a big problem, though, because a lot of villains, like Baron Blade, for example, have effects that can make them immune to certain kinds of damage. So if you had a villain that was immune to melee damage and this card came out, suddenly you're not able to inflict damage anymore. It also increases all damage dealt by 1. That means everything that's doing damage. Whether it's an environment card, a villain card, a hero card, whatever. If it's doing damage, this amplifies it. Finally, at the start of the environment turn, destroy this card. So that means that since the start of the environment turn is already over, it's not going to destroy itself until it comes back around to the environment turn again. So that's kind of a quick example of how Sentinels plays out. You've got a lot of really, really wonderful interaction between the characters. But we'll cover that in my summary segment here. So let's go on over to that. Okay, so Sentinels of the Multiverse. First off, let me be perfectly clear. I adore this game, and my camera wife feels very much the same. Right, sweetie?
Yes.
They can't see you nodding.
No.
Okay. I keep telling her, just talk if you have something to say. Just anyway. So, I have introduced this game to, die-hard Euro fanatics, to miniature players, to non-gamers, and it's gotten a wonderful reception every time. It's fantastic. People just get really into this game. One of the things it does really well is that there's very, very little you have to remember in the way of rules. It's the official rule book here is thickness of a comic book. It's a handful of small pages. And a lot of that's character bios and other stuff like.
Back summary of the rule book shows gameplay.
Oh yes, my camera wife would like me to draw attention to the summary on the back of the rule book here, which is really quite sufficient. Just in case I wasn't clear earlier, you do the villain turn, start of turn effects, play stuff, end of turn, and so on and so forth. She would also like me to point out the status tokens, which, inform you of stuff going on in the game. And there are a lot of card interactions in this game. A lot. So these can be very helpful for remembering what's going on. So, it's just flows really, really nicely. This game is very smooth. Now, I do have a few major complaints. One is that the difficulty is wildly affected by the number of people you have playing. My wife and I have played dozens of games of this 2-player, and we've won twice? Just once? I could have sworn we beat Omnitron that one time with... Yeah, okay. We've won...
That was with house rules.
Not in, anyway, we can have this debate later. 1, maybe 2 times. It's wildly more difficult. And these are level, or difficulty level 1 villains we were fighting. The easiest ones there are, and we've won once. Maybe twice. And it's with 4 players... With 2 people never having played the game before, we defeated a difficulty 2 villain without really breaking a sweat. No one was ever in any huge amount of danger. Though from what I've heard, the level 2 villain we were fighting is an easier level 2. But yeah, it's making it so that it would scale better with the number of players would be nice. And yes, you can always play more characters, but it's just irritating to have to do that. This game can take up a good amount of table space, and trying to, do your character 1, your character 2, and then the other person finally gets a turn, and then they get another turn, and then so on and so forth. The notion doesn't really appeal to us. And the other, as I mentioned earlier, is the card quality. I realize that you gotta make some sacrifices to have a game this cheap. I mean, we got it for $28. This is a lot of game for $28. It is a fantastic budget find, but I really wish they maybe made the box a little cheaper and the cards a little better. But I don't know anything about, putting out a game, so maybe that's not feasible somehow. But it's just a really, really addictive little game. You'll sit down, play for an hour, and go, well, what if we tried it with these two guys instead against this one? Maybe we could do it then. You could almost think something like, say, Ghost Stories or Robinson, where, yeah, you're going to get your butt handed to you a lot, but you're going to enjoy the ride, and you're going to want to take another crack at it, because you have the plan this time. Oh, now you know. You're going to do that thing that totally would have, yeah. You see where I'm going with this. So you could really do a lot worse than picking this one up. But if your games are going to be principally two-player, you're going to have to ask yourself, is it going to be an issue that we're getting a much harder experience than maybe was intended? In fact, I think the rules officially recommend playing 2 heroes each. It's really, really worth trying out, though. For this much money, you can do a lot worse, believe me. So, give it a shot if you liked what you saw. Otherwise, you're welcome for steering you away from it. Yeah, I'm gonna take all the credit over here. Anyway, that's Sentinels of the Multiverse. If I forgot any rules, screwed up any rules, I don't know, didn't talk loud enough, feel free to let me know. I'll do better next time, promise. So, have a great day.